Welcome to Ali Beg AB TV on match day as Aberdeen travel through to Glasgow to take on league leaders Celtic. Kick-off at Celtic Park is at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Here are your fixtures today. Dundee United hosting St Johnstone, Hibs taking on Kilmarnock, Livingston play host to Rangers, and St Mirren welcome Ross County. So what does that mean in terms of the table? Well, we still sit in the bottom six, but with a win today, we could actually go fourth depending on other results. So believe it or not, there is huge incentive to do well today at Celtic Park. Hi, how you doing? A very warm welcome to Ali Beg AB TV. This is the preview show ahead of the Celtic game. Now, if you were watching live this morning on the channel, you would have noticed one or two technical issues. So I decided to basically re-record the programme again because, as you know, I am nothing but a perfectionist and I absolutely hate it when things don't go right. So here we are again. Now, as you can see, I'm not in my usual studio setting. I've come down with the family into deepest Austria. The kids have been off for a week, so we decided to take them skiing and have a bit of fun with the boys. So here we are. But we will be back tomorrow in our normal studio setting. So what we got coming up today? So I've got Billy Stark. Jumped on a Zoom call with him earlier today to discuss Aberdeen and how they should approach today's game. And if you missed it during the week, I put out the normal monthly review show where I spoke with Terry McDermott, Rachel Corsie and Jonathan Northcroft. And what I've done is I've clipped out a soundbite from Jonathan where he talks about Aberdeen's identity. And if you missed the show, I think you'll find it a really interesting watch and really interesting sentiments from Jonathan. So I'll bring that to you a little bit later. But let's start today's show with trying to predict what Barry's team will be today against Celtic. So this is what I think he will do. I'm not a big fan of going three at the back today. I'll explain why. I think he should go with a flat back four. I think he should play Hayden at left back. And I've got a feeling he'll go with Matt Kennedy at right back. But when we're in possession, I expect both Hayden and Matty to push forward and act as wing-backs. And then when we are not in possession, to obviously come back in, regroup, reform the back four. Hilber will play his normal role. And I think Johnny Hayes will start today. Because what I'm looking for Johnny to do today is get early balls into the box. I think he'll play just alongside Graham, who will command the centre of the pitch. And Leighton Clarkson will play just to the right of him. I think what Duke will do today is command our final third of the pitch. So just float basically everywhere, just in behind Bojan Majowski, who will probably act just as a lone striker. But today what I'm looking for is to get early balls into the box from both Johnny Hayes and Leighton Clarkson. So I'm guessing that's what will be the team today. But come 2 o'clock this afternoon, obviously, we will find out. So Barry Robson yesterday gave his normal pre-match press conference. He was asked many questions about his current role, the interim manager's role, and whether he wants his name to be thrown into the hat. What was interesting about that was he kept his cards very close to his chest. He didn't say too much about it, which I think is the right thing to do. But as we know, the chairman gave a statement this week where he basically said Barry has got the game against Celtic, the game against Livingston, while they continue to do their search and their due diligence for Aberdeen's new manager, which I think is exactly how we should be playing it. So he was also asked about how he should approach Celtic and our awful record away from home and our awful record at Celtic Park recently. And this is roughly what he said about how we should approach the game.
You got to go down there and believe we're Aberdeen Football Club. Yeah, we miss a couple of the centre-backs at the back who give you speed, might change your game idea a wee bit. But we've got to go down there and believe and be positive. And yeah, Celtic's a huge club, but so is Aberdeen. We want to go down there and show the fans that we're fighting and we want to try and put on as good a performance as we possibly can. It's been good to start to get to know them. 6 or 7 training sessions we've done. Listen, we won't have a game idea model. This is how, in that short space of time. It's also when you're having to try and focus on playing a team that you might have to adapt in certain areas on the pitch. But the good thing has been getting a clear message across to them. We've tried to get a bit of sharpness into them as well without having to tire them. We've tried to make them fresh to come into the game. So it's been it's been good to get to know them and give them drop them a couple of ideas. You can't go in and start to reinvent the wheel and make a whole new, this is how we're going to do things, this is how we're going to, this is all that. That's not for just now. What it is work on some of the basics, things that you're good at, bring a bit more intensity to things, try and find the spaces to hurt Celtic, try and close the spaces that Celtic are going to try and hurt you, and we will build from there. That's the key, we will build from there. I think you saw someone like Eric Ten Hag, you never saw him coming out playing suicide football or anything, and you see he's starting to build now, he's done it the right way. I mean, we all know that anyway.
Barry Robson talking yesterday at the press conference. Right, here's your match stats for the game. So Celtic, doesn't make very good reading, does it? Celtic are unbeaten in 19 meetings with Aberdeen in all competitions, where they won 16 of them since losing 1-0 back in May 2018. Who can ever forget Andrew Considine's winner that day? Aberdeen have lost each of their last 5 league visits to Celtic Park since a 0-0 draw in March 2019. But 4 of those 5 defeats have been by just a single goal margin. Now, this is extremely worrying, and this is what needs to be addressed, and addressed quickly. Aberdeen have lost each of their last 6 away league games, conceding 22 goals. It's the Dons' longest away losing run in the top flight since December 2010. Now, in charge today is Willie Collum. On VAR is Alan Newlands. So just a gentle reminder that this is a pre-recorded show after we did the live show this morning. Unfortunately, we had some terrible technical issues, so I wanted to basically re-record the show. So you can leave your comments at the bottom, but I can't comment as I normally do when this is not a live show. So let's get to Billy Stark. So I jumped on a Zoom call with Billy earlier this morning to basically discuss Aberdeen's approach to today's game and also his thoughts on the type of manager that Aberdeen should be looking at when it comes to appointing our new gaffer in hopefully what will be the next few weeks. So here's what Billy Stark had to say. Hi Billy, good morning. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for jumping on. Right, let's get straight into it. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say with this question, but is this game almost a free ticket for Aberdeen?
I think a lot of clubs have looked at it that way this season. I think that you've got to put it in context, and the answer probably would be yes, but I think it's an important game in terms of not losing heavily, and that's not to sound negative. I mean, Celtic have carved people up at Celtic Park all season, so their consistency is pretty amazing. I think Aberdeen have got to draw on the performance at Pittodrie in terms of the defensive side. Almost got away with it. Celtic are going to dominate the ball, so it really will be a solid defensive requirement today from Aberdeen.
Okay, what sort of game plan do you think Barry will have?
I think that'll be it. I think he'll try to make sure that they're compact. They're not allowing Celtic too many chances, but at the same time, he can't concede territory because that's just asking for it. I think we saw that in the last stages of the game at Pittodrie when they get really deep and it was just a matter of time before Celtic got the goal. So I think it's a difficult one for Barry, but it will be vital in terms of Aberdeen getting anything out of the game.
How important, Billy, do you think it is to go to Celtic Park today and not have any sort of inferiority complex?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think over the years, Aberdeen's record against Celtic's not been great, as is the same with a lot of clubs. Inferiority complex, a lot of new players been brought in by the previous manager. So I don't know. They'll look at highlights of Celtic games. They'll see how well they're playing. So even being new to the club and not taking on the history of the beatings that they've had at Celtic Park, I still think it'll be difficult not to feel that they're certainly underdogs. But you have to garner a spirit within the club and within the team when they go on the pitch that they're not going to be easily beaten.
Just to finish off, Billy, just one quick question about this search, Aberdeen search for a new manager. What type and what sort of manager do you think we should be looking at?
Well, I think the first thing is when a manager goes and there's an interim manager or management team in place, and I see Barry's brought Steve Agnew, who I know, well-respected coach. So, the first thing is people will look at the results that they get. And that's why today is important in terms of the result. But they'll look at that and they'll wonder if they should promote from within. But I think on the face of it, Aberdeen in the position they're in require a manager with experience that will be able to bring a squad that's been hastily put together and form them into a unit that can go and perform consistently. I mean, I think when you look at the season so far, there was a period not so long ago where it was quite exciting to look at Aberdeen playing at Pittodrie, scoring a lot of goals and getting results. But the away form, unfortunately, has been pretty abysmal, to be honest. And I think that's where the character comes into question. So any new manager would have to instill that type of belief in the squad that they can go away from home and get results.
Billy, brilliant. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you as always. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for jumping on.
Good. Okay, Ali.
Take
Cheers.
care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.
My thanks to Billy Stark for jumping on this morning. So when we did the live show today, many of you commented about, about how we should approach today's game. And nearly all of you said all you're looking for and hoping for is that Aberdeen compete and not sit back and just try and have a go and be competitive today. Obviously, we're taking down a sellout crowd again, and I keep reiterating, and I'll continue to bang the drum, we do have the best travelling support in the country. It's just absolutely phenomenal, the hours and the miles that you guys put in to support the team. And I hope today that they can really send you home happy. And what's interesting is that a few of you actually said, look, I'll take a defeat today, but if we compete and we've raised our levels and we've played well and we can come away thinking, okay, we're quite content, at least they had a go. Now, I don't want Aberdeen to lose today, of course I don't, and I don't want them to get beat. So all I'm looking for is for them to compete, and I just hope that we do put in some sort of performance which will give us more confidence going forward, because it's all about confidence building as well, and I think Barry's really starting to instill that within the boys. We saw it was a decent performance a couple of weeks ago. He's had 2 weeks to work with them on the training ground. And I'm hoping what they've done in the training ground in the past couple of weeks really puts us in good stead for today's game against the league leaders. Many of you also commented about, where the bookies have come out this week and said, one day they said Malky Mackay is the favourite. Then yesterday they said Gordon Strachan is the favourite. Many of you have said no to Gordon Strachan. Many of you have said no to Malky Mackay, which I also agree with as well. Many of you also commented about Brian Irvin's piece in the newspaper that he gave this week, where he felt that we should get our new manager in place quickly. And a lot of you sort of said there's no need to rush because the board have absolutely got to get this appointment right. So, yeah, really interesting thoughts from all of you this morning. I also posted on Facebook, obviously, about the show being on today. So just let me read a couple of comments that I thought were really interesting on Facebook. Tom Donegan said, we need to get out of the habit of sitting back and letting them just come at us. We don't want to go rushing in either. Spread the ball around the first 15 to 20 minutes and frustrate them, then get stuck into them and hopefully come away with a decent result. And Craig Smith, he sort of reiterated the point that I mentioned to Billy Stark, that we have to go in with no inferiority complex, as is often the case when we play Celtic. So, again, thank you for all the comments that came in. You can still leave your comments at the bottom of what is a pre-recorded show, and I'll respond to them on YouTube. Okay, so as promised, let's get to Jonathan Northcroft. So if you missed this during the week, I did the monthly review show where we looked back on what was the disastrous month of January, where we drew a line in the sand, just basically said, look, we have to forget about what happened. It's gone. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to go forward. And Jonathan made some really interesting points about the club's identity. And this is what he had to say.
For me, and I felt this about Aberdeen for years. I think this is an opportunity for the club to not just think about changing the manager or who the next manager should be, but actually what the club should be. For years, I think we've sort of drifted around, kind of not I don't feel we've understood what Aberdeen should be, and I think there's a clear identity I'm going to sound old, but I was there watching the Fergie era, and that to me is the identity of the club. It's playing that kind of attacking but intense football with young players. A club that's got to aspire to being the third force, but better than that when it can be, and to winning things. I think we need to set targets, aspirations, what type of football we're going to play, who's going to be in the team, how we're going to run things, and then the manager follows from that. Alan Burrows has come in as CEO, which is welcome. I think there's a new voice was needed, and he brings a lot of experience in Scottish football. There's still the question about whether we need a proper director of football, and I would suggest we probably do, but they're not easy to find. But this has got to be, if it's going to be any positive, it's got to be that the month that we're talking about is the line that Aberdeen draw. No more of this nonsense. And we use this time to figure out what Aberdeen should be going forward, and then appoint a new manager accordingly, and then start to sign players on that basis, and not just, as Rachel said, we've actually got some talented players in the squad. The recruitment hasn't been dreadful universally. It's just been scattergun. So we've got some good ones, and we've got some not so good ones. So I just think that there's a lot that needs now to be sort of clarified, but it's an opportunity to do so.
So that was the January Beg to Differ review show. It's sitting on the channel right now, where I was also joined by Terry McDermott and Rachel Corsie as well. I really hope you enjoyed the watch if you've seen it already. If not, feel free to jump in and have a wee look. So if you're out and about today and you want to get live updates from what's happening at Celtic Park, I'm going to be on the big Saturday football show on North Sound 1 between 2 and 6 with Stephen Mill, Ewan Cameron, and Stevie Cowan, who celebrated his 60th birthday yesterday. We're on between 2 and 6. It's basically a mixture of music, having a really good laugh, and bringing you football updates. So the idea is that I sit here in Austria at my base, watch the game live, and then as things happen, I will report back. So you basically get right up-to-date updates from Celtic Park. Also, if you have not yet already subscribed to Ali Beg AB TV, I'd be very grateful if you wouldn't mind jumping on, clicking that old subscribe button, and come and see what all the fuss is about as we continue to build the network here on YouTube. And if you wouldn't mind, if you have enjoyed today's show, please press the like button, because what that helps, there's this thing called the YouTube algorithm, and it just helps it basically means that YouTube start to recognize the channel, and they start to push what I'm doing further up the page, like what Facebook do. And it just means that we get more exposure, and then we can start building the channel and bring you more content, which is obviously the aim. Okay, guys, we are done. Thank you so much for watching what was a re-record of today's earlier show. If you're travelling down, have a safe trip. I really hope you have a really good day today at Celtic Park. I hope the lads do compete. Have a go. We saw a couple of weeks ago, if we get service to Bojan, he will score the goals. So I hope we do get early balls into the box. I hope we can get down the flanks. We obviously have to be very careful, because they've obviously got very dangerous players, particularly up front. So we have to be at it. And let's also not forget that half of the team that will play today did not play against Celtic at the beginning of December, and did not play at Celtic Park at the beginning of the season. So this will be a brand new experience for them, and I hope they go to Celtic Park and they embrace the occasion and show everybody how good they are, that we can go toe-to-toe with them. That's all we want as fans. And just give yourselves a really good account, and let's see what happens. So I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back in my normal studio setting tomorrow night for the review show at 7 o'clock. So I hope you can join me then. And the review show is all about you, where you get to vent your frustrations or show your joys and your happiness, depending what happens today. So I look forward to your company tomorrow. Thank you again for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you later. Bye for now.